Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, and we're going to go ahead and discuss 9 brand new Volume 1 releases sent over from our friends over at Yen Press. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you a bit of the artwork of each volume, my first impressions of what I thought of each one, and then an age rating as well as who this might be worth it to, as there's something really here for everybody. And man, there was some phenomenal releases, and I'll be honest, some of these were over my radar, or under my radar, I should say, where I wasn't aware of just how good it was. I'd never heard of the story. And when Yen Press sent over and I read it, I'm like, oh, this is definitely one I'm going to want to continue pick up and reading. So without further ado, I'd love to know first in the comments below, which of these titles are you most excited or would like to check out? So let's no further ado. Let's go and get started. One of my favorites, absolutely all of them, was the 31st Consort. And again, as we talk about under the radar, I had never heard of this shoujo series, meaning geared towards girls, but man, this was an absolute delight. I absolutely loved this volume. I let my daughter, who's 13, read it. She loved it as well. As you're following, there's a prince who needs to get married, and to get married, how the kingdom's tradition is that there's 31 consorts and essentially one girl for each day of the month, and then the king goes ahead and he the first of the month, he sees the girl number 1. For the second month, he sees girl number 2, all the way to the 31st. But the problem is during the months is that the 31st doesn't happen very often. So as the king's deciding on who he wants to court or be with, this girl's just a bit left out. What I love about her is she's just a bit of a country bumpkin where she doesn't really care about this. She's not really that excited about meeting the king or anything, or sorry, the prince. But she is going to go ahead and just wants to do her own thing. And in fact, just things are not going well for her at first. And it is absolutely hilarious. But she has so much charm, so happy no matter what happens to her. It just rolls off her sleeves and she finds a way. So all the other consorts, they get their own maid. Well, because she's from the country, she didn't have a maid, couldn't figure it out on her own. So because of that, she ends up doing all her dusting herself. She does all the cooking. All the knights love hanging out with her because she's so nice to them, compared to all the snooty other consorts who are kind of mean and they treat their maids nasty. And you just have her where she's digging the soil, she's making delicious food, she's cleaning everything, and she's just so hospitable. And man, you just can't help but root for her. And again, it's just hilarious. Her facial expressions, I'm just laughing out loud. Man, I really enjoyed this one a lot. I'm so glad that this was one of the options, because this is one I'd never heard of before. So again, as we talk about different things, I wanted to hit it out the blast with this one because I've never heard of the series before. But after reading this, man, I absolutely love it, and I wanted to continue getting the next volume as soon as it comes out. Let's go ahead and discuss my next one from Yen Press. This is The White Rabbit and the Prince of Beasts. Now, this is a sequel to The Sacrificial Princess. Was about I haven't read the whole, haven't really read them. There are 15 volumes total, I believe. And then there's this girl who, she ends up being exchanged for the human sides versus the beast animals, and they're trying to work together, live in harmony. And she ends up winning the heart of the beast, and they end up getting married. As spoiler alert, but this is a sequel, and this is their child. Now their child, he's coming of age where he's supposed to have magical powers and everything. He's gonna have a lot more weight of responsibility of the kingdom on him, and he's just not ready for that. So he decides to run away on his own and try to go ahead and just figure life out. Sorry, he runs away in the idea that he wants to be able to train up and become strong before he comes back home and helps protect his kingdom. And I really appreciated just what they did here is at the end, they have a volume 0 to give you some context of what happened before the sacrificial princess. Princess, sorry. And then also what they do is they give you a bonus chapter seeing what happened afterwards as well, right before her wedding day. So you get to see a bit of that. It's like this in-between chapter. So I really appreciate that. Not only do we get to see a continuing of a story, so my guess for anyone who likes Sacrificial Princess, this is going to be a day one pick for you, especially if you want to see a continuation of that story. And so I really enjoyed this story to see on his own. Just the charm he is, the hilariousness of things going on along the way, some action, and then he ends up meeting these two people, and they're kind of helping him along the way, kind of like a hero's journey, helping him train, discover the world for its own. He realizes that, oh, I've actually been kind of spoiled and I don't know how hard it is. He gets to hear other people where they actually don't really like his father at all, and they don't think the kingdom's really doing anything for them. So he gets to see everything from a different perspective. So I really enjoyed this, and what was nice is, for someone who's never read Sacrificial Princess, I didn't feel lost. This felt really good just as a stepping point as well, if you want to just go into a continuation of the story. Okay, let's go into another one, talk about continuation. This is Spy Classroom, the second period, Daughter Dearest. Now, I've never read the first one. I think it was 3 volumes. The second one, this is 2 volumes, and then there's a third along the way, but I did appreciate that in this story, I did not feel lost. I felt it's almost like a next episode. It's another spy mission. Now they give you a little context on what happened at the previous mission and things that didn't go well, and they're kind of like you're with the rejects of the bunch, and no one expects the rejects to do well as a spy. No one suspects them to the point that they're going to end up being successful in a previous mission because people just wrote them off. So in this, now they have some of that experience under their belt. They're under a new mission and they're spying. So I thought it was a good first volume. I'm interested to see with 2 volumes total how the whole thing, connects together. So I would say if you like Spy Classroom, you're probably getting the second period. And again, I think the hardest part for me was it teased things up where I'm like, oh, I wonder what happens next. But I don't know when the whole thing comes together if the whole thing is worth it. And there was a bunch of characters, and it was hard where I wanted to connect more with them, but I didn't really know them that well. And my guess is that's because I haven't read the first one. So there you have it, Spy Classroom, the second period, Daughter Dearest. Next up we have is To Serve Without Love, I'm Divorcing You. So this story is about a girl who ends up from nobility, has been forced into a marriage that she doesn't want at all. But, the lovely person she's supposed to be with ends up having to go to war, so she's not going to see him for many, many years. So she's just trying to get on with it, wants to be done as soon as possible, and to the point that she decides that I'm just going to write a divorce since I don't want to be married to this person anyways, and I kind of want my independence and go and do my own thing. I'm actually tired of this type of idea of women being forced to be into marriage. So I really like that. The protagonist, she is a strong woman. She's actually really good with a sword. She's smart. She's very smart. And so I appreciate that independent side of it. In the first chapter, I really enjoyed a lot. And typically what I do for some books at Yen Press, when I get to pick different things to recommend I'd like to check out, is I'll see if I can read the first chapter. So I read the first chapter online and I really enjoyed it. Then we got to chapter 2. Now, chapter 2, I will say, was a little harder for me, and that's just because of some of the heavy adult context in it. As he comes back, and when he comes back, he has decided that, hey, I'm willing to divorce you, but for the next month, you have to go ahead and try to get a child with me, and if you become pregnant, then we're going to be together. So, unfortunately, with that context, he is not very good to her, and just forcing her some things I just think are not okay whatsoever. So I felt a little uneasy with that, and I wish there was some kind of warning. I would love for Yen Press to do that, where some of these books there would be in those type of stories with context saying, hey, this is not okay. It wasn't okay then. It's not okay in the story. It's not okay now. I gotta really appreciate Kodansha has done that with Witch Hat Atelier. There was a certain chapter where they gave a warning ahead of time for it. I've also seen Kodansha do that with the Fable, where there was a situation that's similar to what's going on here, and they even have a number for those that are being in that situation to call, and hey, we're aware there's some heavy context on here that's not okay. And then I even appreciate they did that with Silent Voice as well, where they talk about, hey, it's not if you have suicidal thoughts, here's a number to call to get help. So I really appreciate those warnings, and I think that's important for people, and I would love to see Yen Press do that as well. This is one I think definitely need that warning. I'm rooting for her. I'm excited to see how she gets out of this, or will they fall in love together? But it's just a little too heavy what happens there, and unfortunately I did not like that. But man, first chapter I really enjoyed there. All right, the next I have is The Failure of God School. This has felt almost like a My Hero Academia-ish, where you have this girl where there's these people that they can become gods of shrines and based on your powers, and then you go to this school to learn about your powers and what type of level of deity you're going to be. And so there's this girl that she just has no powers at all, but somehow someone sees something in her she doesn't see of herself. So instead of being rejected, she's the failure that ends up going to this school to learn how to be a god. Now, along the way, I actually, not only was there many parts that were funny, but you just happen to you're wanting to root for her and see her start to, as she has just these hints of maybe she does have some kind of ability, and maybe she's actually a lot stronger than people realize. So I really like that. If you like a different version of like a My Hero Academia, I think this might be up your alley. They're not necessarily being superheroes, but being gods that'll go to different cities and towns for people. And so I'm interested to see what happens along the way, and there's bad stuff going on behind the scenes that they're trying to intertwine into it. So I'm really excited for this. I wouldn't mind checking out the second volume of this. Again, if you're looking for that type of modern day superhero, supernatural-ish, I think this will be up your alley. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the failure of God School, the first volume, was actually pretty good. Let's talk about a series. I really, really like this one a lot, where I want to continue it. And just because it had so many of those RPG isekai moments and kind of overpowered, where you just can't help but root for the main character, and that is The Boy Who Ruled the Monsters. So this story here is about a person where kind of like going into dungeons or different places. So this person has a special overpowered ability where he's able to actually see the stats of other people and then give them commands and help them raise their level and get stronger. So along the way with that, people see that he thinks that he's just standing there and that he's weak, and then his party decides to reject him, and he's now having to go out on his own. And he has this summon skill ability, which is also overpowered. And with that, he ends up deciding to summon this phenomenal dragon to help him as he's having to make it out on his own. And when he does it, he ends up getting this dragon girl here, who's only at 1% of her total strength, and she is OP as well already at 1%. And now they're going to go ahead and tackle the different dungeons and different areas together and get the different beasts. And then people are going to go ahead and they're joining the party. So it was fun. I really enjoyed this as a first read. So if you like that isekai feeling, but technically not an isekai, so if you like the idea of following a main character, kind of like solo leveling, that's just OP and just continues to just destroy things and those RPG elements, I think this will be up your alley. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about, I really love the light novel. So this is now the manga version of it, but the light novel Yen-Press sent a while ago, I really enjoyed the first one, and that is Victoria of Many Faces. This is about Victoria, a girl. She is an assassin, and she has decided to stop being an assassin, ends up moving to a different country to go ahead and now just live out her life and just wants a normal life. Now, as you know, one that has been an assassin doesn't get to go ahead and just hang their hat and doesn't have people come back and hunt and try to find her and get her back into society. So she faked her own death, but the other country's like, I don't see a body. How are we sure that she's actually dead? So as she's trying to just have a regular life, there's just things that happen where, there's somebody's about to steal something. Did she just accidentally put her foot out, where, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that person, and now they're caught? Or was there some more subtlety to it? And then she finds this girl who ends up being abandoned by her own mother, and then she just feels for that girl, where almost like that abandonment of herself, where she doesn't want that girl to go now live in an orphanage. So she takes that in and she's raising that girl as well. Beautiful story. I highly recommend the light novel. In fact, I'd say the light novel is probably, I liked it better than I did of at least the volume 1 of the manga here. Now, but for those who aren't really into light novels, I think you're going to enjoy the manga as well. All right, now coming up is a new spin-off series from one of my favorite series, Bocchi the Rock. Instead of getting Bocchi the Rock, there is now a side story, which is Bocchi the Rock side story, Hero's Heavy Drinking Diary. Now, I do want to say first off, you'll notice as I show you some of the pictures here. Now, in this one, it's not 4 panels, which I was actually surprised because Bocchi is 4 panels, meaning we have 1, 2, 3 through 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and you read it this way. Instead, this is like a typical manga that we just have as the pages continue to change, and we just have the normal way of reading. So I thought that was interesting. It's not 4 panels, and it was funny. And on a side story, I thought originally it was going to be like having something in the past, but it's literally on the side as you're following a different band who actually has success, but the main character has a major drinking problem. And in fact, she ends up running into Bocchi as they're trying to figure out things on their band and try to sell tickets. So I think it's close to volume 3 or 4, if I remember correctly, where they're at here. So you actually bumps into Bocchi, and she ends up getting money from her as well, as she's just, because, Bocchi just can't say no. So I really, and then there's the side ruse, the other side ruse, the other band that's kind of mean, but they idolize her. So I actually, if you like Bocchi the Rock, I think you're going to want to get this one a try. I think you're going to enjoy this series. If you're looking just for a funny series about a rocker with heavy drinking problem, this one will probably be up your alley. Okay, now on to the very last one. This is a manhwa from their Eyes press line. You know, I really enjoy the Eyes press line. I've had many of their titles, and I was like, darn it, here's another one that I'm going to want to keep picking them up. I feel like I'm going broke with the Eyes press line. First off, as you notice, everything is in color because it's from the Korean manga, and I absolutely love everything being in color. And this is for Kill the Villainess. This is about a girl who ends up being transported in another world, and she is in a book of the villain, and she doesn't want to be a villain. She doesn't even want to be in the book. She just wants to find a way to get home. So how she does it, she tries to keep killing herself so that she can go ahead and just go back to her old life. The problem is that every single time she tries to kill herself, something magical happens, whether she poisons herself, and poison is now a cure-all health. She tries to jump off a balcony and kill herself that way, and just so happens someone catches her along the way. So in the midst of this, as she doesn't want to be a villainess, she's dealing with a person that she's supposed to marry, and he's just kind of a bit of a scumbag. He doesn't really treat her well, and he kind of wants to be with this other girl that he's continuing to just flirt with intentionally in front of her, and she just doesn't want anything to deal with that. Because in the real story, which she's read, is as a villain, she ends up, the villain gets so jealous, even though she's supposed to be marrying the prince, that she ends up killing the other girl, and then the other girl magically comes back to life, and then she as a villainess gets executed. So, well, she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to live that out, but she is getting tired and not wanting to put up with his antics. So there is that villainous side of her where she's like, ugh, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. So the ends don't justify the means. I'm not going to sit here and take it. So I'm excited to find out what happens next year, and it's interesting as some people can tell maybe you're not really from this world or not, and she doesn't want to give too much things away or people to freak out, and she's just trying to navigate how I navigate that line of getting out of this book and being a little bit of villain but not too much. So I'm interested to see how she walks that tightrope. Kill the Villainess. This was a phenomenal story from the Eyes press line of Yen Press. Okay, there we have it. 9 volume 1 releases. Those are my first impressions on them, and talk about just some of the age ratings here. With like Kill the Villainess is 13-ish. So most of them I'd say I was pretty good with the younger ages, probably around 13. Just that, man, the one where I'm divorcing you, that one I feel like is almost like 16, 17 plus. That's definitely for older teens out there, just because of some of the really heavy content. So that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'd love to know in the comments below which one of these are you excited for checking out. And hey, if you see this video, I'll be at SakuraCon this week. This happening this Friday. I'm hosting a panel, so I'd love to see you there in Seattle if you're going to be there. And if not, that's okay too. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.